Basically, back in 1979, I was working with a band, local band in East London called RDB, which was Rehearsal Boulevard. We were resident at a little rock pub in London, in East London, called the Bridge House. Well, I hadn't heard a lot of Iron Maiden, about them or their music at the time, but what I didn't know was that Steve Harris and Dave Murray used to come to the Bridge House and watch the band play. What happened after that was that Maiden were about to sign a big deal with EMI, and they were looking for a guitarist, backing singer, like second vocalist, guitarist, to come into the band with recording experience. So basically what happened was that they contacted me to come into the band, to have a listen, to see if you could improve what was going on. I don't think that the band had much experience in a studio, a proper studio, and I think they'd done a lot of demos, the Soundhouse tapes and things like that, but not basically recording, proper recording. So because I'd recorded with a few bands before, they contacted me. I met them up at the old Ship in Wardour Street, next to the old marquee, and we had a long chat and introduced ourselves to one another, and it went on from there. They gave me some demos of what they'd done, that when they were due to start recording on the first album. I went to a rehearsal with them, but it was pretty awkward with a rehearsal because I didn't have a drummer either. So we were sitting in this rehearsal studio. Paul Diano came in, Dave Murray came in, me and Steve were sitting there and really just running through different tunes. One of the tracks that they put to me was Phantom of the Opera, and so I took it away. I worked on the song, and then I started working on the harmonies of the songs to make them just sound. I've always been in the harmony guitar bands. Years before with Wishbone Ash and bands that I've worked with, have always been two guitars. So I worked on the harmonies of Phantom of the Opera. We went to a rehearsal, played it, and they said, brilliant, great, we'll go for it. But at the same time, they were looking for a drummer. I had brought down a good friend of mine, Johnny Richardson, who suffers a little bit from his ears, so he didn't last very long because the rehearsals were quite loud. Clive Burr, me and Clive have known one another for many years before Maiden. I bumped into him at a pub in the East End, and I just said to him that I was joining the band and they were looking for a drummer. So I took him along to the rehearsal. They liked Clive, and then the rest is history. You know, that's what we started working on. Well, when I first went over to the rehearsal studios, which was at Clapham, round the corner to where Dave Murray used to live, it was just a rehearsal room with you know, a few amps set up, and we sort of went through the tunes, listened to what they wanted. We all seemed to get on well together. I found it a little bit slow because it's hard to sort of work on songs when there's no drummer there. So it was just a bonding process. I think the fact that we went to the pub together, we sat down, we had a chat, we had a pint, just talked about them coming to see me at the Bridge House, playing with bands that I'd played with. It wasn't such a big thing. There was no, at the time, there was no panic because they were just routining stuff, rehearsing stuff for the album. What they were looking at from me to put into the band was, you know, more experience regarding the backing vocals and the guitar work, regarding like harmony guitars, which they'd never used. So it was just a bonding process with, you know, like joining one another, finding out what one another were about, you know. So there was no pressure at the time, you know. They'd been doing what I admired about Maiden was that they'd done all the groundwork, they'd done all the hard work, which is, you know, which we'd all done in bands years ago. Before that, it was like you get in a transit van, you go all around the country, you go up Preston, you're playing in places in Macclesfield or wherever, little clubs all over the place. And what I admired about them was that they'd done all that groundwork, so they already had quite a big following, and it was all done through demo tapes, like the Soundhouse tapes. And when they used to go and do a gig up north somewhere like Middlesbrough or wherever, they always had a big crowd, so you knew that there was potential there. But because I wasn't in the band at the time, I didn't know what was going on with the band or how big they circulated through the country. So, you know, it was just something that I had to sort of like, you know, learn as we went along.